strange week for Rory McIlroy. He played all 5 matches yet again at the Ryder Cup, ended up winning 2 points, but lost here in 18 against Justin Thomas earlier. A lot of missed putts again. What was your overall sense of his performance?
I thought he was tired, a bit like the American team. He was jaded. I think he didn't come in the same vibrancy. I thought there was a little bit of a hangover from his performance on the last round of the FedEx last week. You know, when he played with Tiger in the last round and it went badly for him and he had a poor day. I think he came in on a little bit of a low on the back of that, and he nearly got going. Sergio dragged him up on the second day and he nearly got going, and then he kind of flatlined a little bit again. I thought he played decent today. He didn't play great. He was up against, I mean, this guy, watch this guy, Justin Thomas, he is a superb competitor. Not just is he a brilliant ball striker and a big hitter and all that, he has got a heart of a lion. Watch this guy go forward in the game.
He's chipping in and everything.
He's competitive. You know, when I talk about competitive instincts, I can sense it, I can watch it, I'm looking for the moments. I'm looking for moments, big moments, and if they can do it. And there was none bigger moment, leading the team out, when the Ryder Cup was a little bit rocky from a European perspective, and looking good for an American. This guy had to win his game. He had the honour on 17. McIlroy made an unbelievable up and down on 17. This guy stood up in the 18th and he took out driver, and I said to the guys, I was watching it in the green room, and I said, this is not the play. There's nowhere to go with driver for a guy at this distance. And he hit it down a sliver of fairway and said, okay, now let's see what you got, Rory. That's what forced the issue. When I talk about match play moments, that forced the issue on Rory. That put a massive amount of pressure on Rory. And Rory made the right call. 3 wood was the right call for him. It wasn't to follow him up with the same drive. It was a 3 wood. But, you know, the pressure was huge at that moment, and you know, a leak to the right, plug fly, and game over.
Cruel and unfair as it is, one of the lasting images of McIlroy from this Ryder Cup will be him turning to the crowd and saying, I can putt. Heat of the moment, he might regret doing that. I mean, the putter was a bit of an issue today. We just thought it was noticeable. If someone had shouted Rory McIlroy in the crowd, you can't drive the ball, he wouldn't have even risen to it. But it's clearly
the crowd would have been laughed out of the place.
Well, yeah, but it's clearly a sore point. It clearly was something that really got his back up, and you know, funny enough, it kind of distracted him almost yesterday. But in broad terms, what's he going to do in the off season now, Paul, do you think, with his game?
Well, that's with Rory. His putting stats have been actually pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, you look at his stats, and I've trawled through all of these stats. I do them all the time, particularly for this Ryder Cup for all the 12 players on the European team. His putting stats are actually really good compared to where they've been in previous years. Okay. He holds some good putts. There's not a whole lot wrong with his putting. What Rory has lost compared to what he had before, I call it pointy elbows, is that competitive edge that he's had earlier in his career. It's not quite the same. The other guys have raised the bar, they're putting it up to him. Guys like Justin Thomas, we just saw it on the 18th hole there. You know, he hit the drive as long as Rory McIlroy would do. Rory used to dominate guys and intimidate them with his driving. So the other guys have raised the bar, and that's made things difficult for Rory. He hasn't got his head around that yet, and he hasn't, you know, and I keep saying, you know, those pointy elbows, that's what he had. He has that instinct in him. It's lying dormant at the moment. It's hard to say it's lying dormant because look at the year he's had. I mean, there's only probably 2 or 3 guys in the whole of golf who've created more world ranking points than Rory McIlroy this year. His level of consistency is probably better than it's ever been. He's just not winning as much as he often did.
Kill him with our expectations, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of that goes around him with the expectations. There's no doubt about that. And playing number 1 today, he had a massive amount of pressure on him. A lot of expectation on him playing out in that number 1 position.
Yeah. I guess just the last question too, because we're all tight for time. Are we now at a point where, with this home and away business, you talked about the way Bjorn set up the course, and we know 2 years ago there were pins in the middle of greens, and the course was set up perfectly for Mickelson to hit the ball wherever he wanted. So, I don't know, it doesn't excite me as much if we have this big contrast back and forth. If both America and Team Europe have perfected the art of setting up the course to suit their teams, then I think that takes away something from the integrity of the tournament, and I wonder if that is something that the Ryder Cup might have to look at.
Yeah, that's a good point, Joe, and that could be the case. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout from this Ryder Cup in that regard. There's going to be discussions.
Will there?
Yeah, I think
Butch
so.
Harmon was making the point on commentary with you yesterday that the exact thing that the USPGA Tour need to look at the type of courses. But then at the same time, it's once every 4 years that the Ryder Cup's in America. Why would they change the entire ethos of the tour and how they set up their courses for what is essentially 1 week?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I said it in commentary as well. You know, 90% of matches in the last 10 years 70% of Ryder Cups in the last number of years have been won by the home team over a long period of time. 90% have been won by the home team in President's Cup, Ryder Cups and Solheim Cups in the last 10 years. Home advantage is huge in all kinds of team events. It's not just the crowd. Yes, the crowd is really important and you ride that wave with it. It's tailoring the golf course. This, of all the golf courses that we've ever had on a European, yes, the rough was up this week, but there's also, without any rough, if you put no rough on this golf course, there's still only 4 holes that the big hitters can drive around. That's the kind of golf course. It's a positional kind of golf course. The one that's closer to it on the PGA Tour, the one most similar in my mind to it, is Sawgrass. Sawgrass, and it's no surprise, Webb Simpson, I called it on TV before I went out, Justin Rose is playing arguably the strongest player on the American team for one reason. This guy knows how to sit this exam, Webb Simpson, and he's won the TPC around there. Justin's in for a really tough game, and that's exactly what happened. That's the kind of player that can sit. He's comfortable on that kind of exam, you know. And I think.
Will we get a neutral setup if this situation is exacerbated over the next years?
A lot of negotiation. That's a lot of negotiation there, Joe. I mean, you want to be Kofi Annan to negotiate that one out. You know, there's already been a commonality going on with the pin positions, with the Americans putting them in the middle of the greens, and you know, behind the scenes, I think the pin positions were given to both teams at the start of the week. Not exactly which day they will be on, but they were both given where the 5 pin positions were.
And who chooses them? Does Bjorn choose the pin positions?
There's an independent referee, well, not independent, there's a referee from the PGA European Tour, and there's a referee from the PGA of America. Right. And between them, those two, they decide on the 5 pins. Both teams were issued with the 5 pins, and then they just decided on which day which. Now, maybe are they going to do something like that in course setup? I don't know. I'm not involved in those. That's something for the next captain to discuss. But certainly, we go to Hazeltine. I mean, look what happened in Hazeltine. I mean, they took so much pride and delight in telling us all about how they set it up to suit themselves and how they cut out some trees. And now, you know, and that's why they can't cry now about what we've done to them.
Funny, I'm seeing some crying, and it's not so much, it's unfair on us, but the few mumblings I've seen on social media from some golf riders and various people is, well, like, this is rubbish golf. Like, I don't want to see Rory McIlroy hit an iron off a par 5 twice. I don't want golf where you know if you're 10 yards off the fairway you can't find the green. Actually, it's boring golf, and we don't want to see golf where you have to hack out sideways. So that's the narrative which is kind of beginning to start. I can see what they mean. I get that.
I don't get that because otherwise you're looking at 15, 20 under par. It's a birdie fest. Just keep going for it every day, every week. Play aggressive. I mean, these American guys in particular are incredibly aggressive. The way they think, the way they play, and we made them think on the back foot.
So the rough wasn't too penal?
For me, one of the skills in being a professional golfer is the ability to hit it straight. Not just long, straight.
Sure.
And there's been so much of a focus in modern times. The guys have figured out, man, if I can hit it far, it doesn't matter if I'm straight. Look at the accuracy. I mean, I don't know this exact stat, but I don't think any one of the 12 players on the PGA Tour on the American team were ranked in the top 30 in driving accuracy. Any one of the 12. You know, that's an indictment of what the modern game is rewarding and what it's become. Do we all want to see this? You know, the US Open, I was so disappointed when I went to Shinnecock this year. For me, the big miss in Shinnecock was not the fact that the greens lost a little bit on the Saturday and all this debate. It was the fact that the fairways were a joke how wide they were. I walked when doing my prep walking around. I walked on these green fairways and I said, I have never seen a fairway this big in my life. I know I've never seen a fairway as big. Erin Hills the year before. On the 10th hole, I looked at this fairway and I thought, is this the right fairway? I had to check it. I walked on the fairway. And I looked back in the tee and I looked at the green and I said, have I walked up the wrong fairway here? And I paced it wide. It was 84. Listen to this. 84 yards wide. Are you kidding me?
Par 4.
Par 4. 500 yards. 84 yards wide. You know, that's not what golf's about. Now, back in the days when Curtis Strange, Nick Faldo, and all of those kind of players were playing, when they went to sit the exam that the US Open was, they knew, as Trevino used to say, these fairways are so narrow you got to walk single file down them. And that's what it was. It was 20 yards to 25 yards. That was the exam of the US Open. Whatever happened to that? Why are we now all playing into the hands of the power hitters?
Are you facing 6 months of lobbying now from potential captains for 2020?
No, there's no lobbying going on. In fairness, I've never been lobbied by anybody about trying to put a word in for me.
Sure, he knows. We all know. Yeah, like
well, I didn't want.
No one can lobby Padraig Carrington away from him. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Padraig said a couple of weeks on the show he wants 2020. I mean, I would think, given his legacy in Ryder Cup and his career, when Padraig wants it, he'll have a very good chance of getting it.
Of course he would. You know, he's favourite with the bookies. I don't even know if they're still taking bets on him. I think he's that much of a favourite. And with his record, his CV, his brightness, his understanding, he's been a vice captain now twice. He's been three vice captain twice, and this is his second time as a vice captain, I think. Yeah, he's been hugely important in Ryder Cup successes. He's a big part of the tour. He's still relative with the current players. He ticks all the boxes, of course. Why wouldn't we look at somebody like Rory? It's a natural graduation.
Yeah.
And what we have in the European Tour that they've copied in America is this succession plan. You know, we got some great succession plan going on. You know, I was part of that succession plan with 2 vice captaincies. Thomas, I think, is on 4 vice captaincies before he's graduated to captain. Darren was vice captains, you know, and we'll continue to do that. It's really important to learn and get in behind the ropes and be there without your golf clubs and sense what's going on and see what's going on and be current. Because being a vice captain means you're current if you then, you know, elevate into the broader captaincy for the next edition.
Maybe a last question to finish on a good note. Who are your favourite players out there? Like, the whole world has fallen in love with Mollywood.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to be caught up in what they've done.
Yeah.
I think the charisma that Tommy Fleetwood has, you know, he's great and he's fun. You look at him and you just see fun. You know, you see his celebrations afterwards. It's not grandstanding. You know, it's natural. You know, he went into a whole load of Scousers. He's from Liverpool. The Scousers were there, and you could see he saw them from about 50 yards, and he ran with them with all his might and jumped into the middle of them. They were his friends from home that had been giving them all tickets to be there.
Right.
So I think he's certainly
he's a star now.
He's somebody you'd look at. Yeah, I think a lot of pressure on Sergio Garcia. He came and delivered, but you know, I leave it on the point of Thomas Bjorn. I think he needs a lot of credit for what he's done here. It was a plan. This wasn't just turned up and, you know, it just happened. And Europe played well, America didn't play particularly well. You could have that. I don't buy into that. That's part of the story. The big story is it was a perfectly executed plan by the European team, starting 2 years ago on the back of Hazeltine. We licked our wounds. We walked away and we say, okay, right, we're going to have a different dynamic going on here. And we're going to move things in our favour when we are playing at home. Yes, we're going to have advantage. What are we going to do to put things in place to give us the best opportunity? Okay, we're going to have the golf course. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to, you know, the ropes and all the kind of stuff that went on with it. Then he looked at the qualification processes. Right now, one of the big things we had in Hazeltine, in my opinion, was why we lost in Hazeltine was not the fact that we had 6 rookies, even though that's a narrative everybody's buying into. It was the fact that we had 6 rookies who had made most of their points early in the qualification campaign. Thomas Peters was the only one who was current. No coincidence, he went on to have the best of the record of all of the 6 rookies there. Most of the rookies who were there had made their points very early in the campaign, at the end of the previous year or early in the year of 2016, the year the Ryder Cup was going to be on. So he said, okay, now what do I need to do? Martin Keimer didn't play particularly well, and, you know, Lee didn't play particularly well. What I want to do here is I want to look at guys. I want to have all those guys in the team, but I want them to earn it based on form. So he went in and he put 50% extra points on from the PGA Championship in May till the end of the qualifying in Denmark, and every point had a 50% bonus point on top in order to get form. That's all part of the process,
right,
you know. So I think Thomas deserves a lot of credit for a number of things that went on. Then his communication with the players. There's a number of things within behind the scenes here, like there always is in the winning of a Ryder Cup. You just don't turn up and, oh, Europe played great, America didn't play well, that's what happened. No. There's a story, there's a plan, there's an execution of that plan, and I think a lot of credit goes to Thomas and all his vice captains for the execution of that.
Yeah, the extra points closer to the thing is a
form.
great
Form
point.
Is huge. Form is huge. Yeah,
Listen,
absolutely. You know, America, did they do that? No, they didn't. You know, and that's when I say they need to look away at what they did, and particularly when they're playing away from home. Very, very, very different dynamic. It's a much tougher challenge playing away from home, and you know, it's not going to happen. And I'm not asking for the job in any way or form, because I won't be doing it. No, I'm not going to be doing it. But there's something really exciting about being an away captain, because it's so damn difficult.
Yeah.
And if Padraig is going to be the next captain, he's got to dream up a way. He's got to pick up the pieces from Hazeltine, and he's got to say, okay, well, what are we going to do? What went on when we won away from home? What have we got to do? What have I got to do? What have we got to do? Whoever the next captain may be has got to really formulate a really tough plan to go into the Lions' Den and try to execute away from home, because it's so difficult. But I mean, what a feather in this cap, whoever the next captain should be, to be an away winning captain is going to be something special.
Yeah, for sure. You've had an unbelievably long week and you're still talking about the Ryder Cup at 9:15. So many thanks for making time for us. It's much appreciated.
Pleasure,
yeah, it really is.
Good luck with everything, and
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks a million. So Whistling Straits in 2 years. It's been fun. That's us done at the Ryder Cup for this evening as well. We'll see you.